Hello, my love, and welcome back to Strip to the Soul. If this is your first time, we just chat all things inner work, self-love, and everything it means to be a woman and a human in today's world. I have a juicy episode. I have been on one lately in the best kind of way. I would describe my energy as very spicy and high vibe at the minute. I have definitely gone through a lot, as you know, if you are a regular listener. And I've been having these beautiful conversations with my girlfriends on the topic of relationships. I feel most of my girlfriends will come to me with relationship things, or we just naturally talk about that because hello, girls. But yeah, a lot of friends have been going through different relationship issues, breakups, falling in love, all of the good things. And yeah, we've been having like really deep conversations around communication and also just being where we're at in life. And I was joking with my friend today because she was having a mentee be about her age and just, being single. And I jokingly said to her, "You are only on season 2 of Sex and the City." And she was like, "What are you talking about? I finished it last night." I said, "No, if you think about all the good stuff that happens in all the later seasons, and you are only at the age where they were in season 2, just to put something into perspective." Now, that's not what we're talking about in today's episode. However, it will make sense. So today's episode, I want to chat about breakups and why breakups can be the best thing that ever happened to you. I know in hindsight, you will look back at certain breakups that you've gone through in your life if you have gone through breakups. I'm sure you have if you're clicking on this episode. But in hindsight and looking back, you can always be like, "Oh, that was so good. I'm so happy that happened. I see why it happened." But when you're in the midst of it and it's super fresh, or, maybe you're even contemplating a breakup. This was a conversation with a friend where, she did pull the plug, but for the last couple of days, she's been going back and forth as to what to do, especially when you do love someone and you're also deep in something. So I want to share from my own perspective and wisdom and stuff that I've gone through, and also these like juicy conversations I've been having with my girls about breakups. And it is hard. If you remember, I was going through it. I shared this. I felt like everything around me was crumbling. And it does feel like, everything is ending when you go through a breakup. And this is true. And this is also sometimes why people put off breakups, because it's, facing that whole new reality. And it feels like gut-wrenching when you think of the unraveling of your life. I shared this before, but I remember when I was going through a breakup with a guy that I was seeing, and it was the first weekend, and I was lost. I didn't know what to do with my weekend because I'd been spending the weekends with him, and I felt like I didn't know what my life was anymore. And it's really difficult when you're in these spaces because there's this deep silence after, I guess, like constant noise of being with someone, of this like routine and excitement and even the daily chatter. When you go through a breakup and all of a sudden you don't have that person to text every day, it is so hard. And that is truly when girlfriends will step in and be the best support. But I want to change and kind of go into the narrative and through looking through the lens of, if heartbreaks are actually not just heartbreaks, but they're the beginning of something. And looking at how, this fresh start and this loss that you've gone through actually creates space for something more true and more grounded and more aligned. And not just in love and in the next relationship, but truly in who you are. I said to my friend today, I was like, "How good that you're single." Because she said, "Oh my God, I'm single and I don't want to be single at this age." And we all have these moments, and I feel her. Like, it's not a nice space to be in when you're feeling all those feels and just the reality of, I have to start dating again, but I'm not ready to start dating again. It's brutal. It is brutal. And I'm not saying it's not. So I do want to explore why, breakups, as brutal as they are so powerful. And it's a transformative time in your life. And probably these breakups that you go through will be the biggest transformations of your life. But I said to her in this moment, I was like, how good. You get to find someone that's more aligned for you. You get to find someone who shares the same values as you. You get to find someone who's going to make you happier and maybe even richer and just like hotter, like all the exciting good things. But when you do go through a breakup, if you've gone through one, you can probably relate to me on this, or if you are in the middle of one or going through one or preempting one, we are taught or sold this narrative that a breakup means that technically something has gone wrong, or you were wrong, that you weren't right for this person. That can be an internalized feeling or a story that we're telling ourselves, that there's something about me that wasn't right, or something didn't work, and then ultimately then that's a failure, or you're not good enough, or why couldn't I have made it work, or maybe you've been with someone for a long time and you're just at this crossroads where you both know that it's not the right thing, and then you have this like deep sense of why can't we make it work. But in those moments, the most courageous thing that you can often do is let go and actually create space in your life. And this, it's funny, I'm talking about breakups, but I can completely relate this to my life at the minute in terms of letting go of a lot of things in my life that I love to create space for something more. And isn't that funny how relationships, business, everything, life, it all kind of intertwines. And walking away isn't weakness. It's often, wisdom in disguise. And a breakup doesn't mean that the love wasn't real. It often means that you both grew in a different direction potentially, or maybe like for my girlfriend, like this person wasn't able to meet the deep needs that you have inside, and your desires and your needs are rightfully yours. And you could love someone, but there could be a misalignment of different values or different visions for the future. And what's funny is how I share about you can love something and grow in a different direction. I definitely am navigating that in my own life, and it's nothing to do with a person or a relationship. It's just my life as a whole. As I'm growing in a different direction, I really have to break up with my current life, as funny as that sounds. So yeah, this is resonating with me a lot, despite the conversations with my friends actually being about breakups and boys. But when someone isn't meeting your needs, you really have to ask yourself in those moments, like, what are you choosing? Because you're either going to sacrifice something that's deeply important for you, or you need to find a way to make it work with the person. What's not going to work is you sacrificing and then living unhappy. If you're like sacrificing something, but you're doing it from a place of like love and choice, it's very different. But I do think the deep rooted foundational things in terms of your values of what you want. So say, for example, you want to get married and this person doesn't. That is a huge decision to make. And ultimately what I've come to learn through growing up is I'm not willing to sacrifice on those things. I have certain visions and certain goals and certain dreams of my life. And I have the belief that there is someone that will give that to me. So if that's not this person in front of me, it's going to be someone else. And I'm at that place where I think I've spent all of my 20s just like letting go and, not holding on to the things that I wanted because I was just trying to keep someone in my life or shape myself or mold myself into what they want versus being true to me. And now I'm just so true to myself that I'm unwilling to, let go of those things or these dreams or this goal life that I have for myself. I'm not accepting anything less. And I really feel empowered when I say that. And it's not coming from an egotistical way. I think that growth as a woman of I deserve this, and also the belief in something so great for yourself. It's holding yourself to the highest standard and also this highest version of yourself and holding her and imagining her life and not accepting anything less. I speak about this in my course, Romanticize Your Life, but truly, that's the difference between who I was and now who I am, that anything less than what I want just isn't it, and I'm not willing to accept it. Whereas younger me would have been willing to accept it. And it's not to say you can't grow with someone and grow into a life, say it's like wealth or whatever it is, or a business. Of course, that it's not just handed to you. Things take work. However, things like values and, beliefs, they're things I'm not willing to shake anymore. And there's something really healing in that, about saying, I love myself enough to not stay in what hurts, or to not stay in something that no longer serves me. And in a way, when you do make this choice, this breakup, this decision, this realization, this recognition of your true self, it breaks you open. Like a heartbreak will break you open. It takes away the noise. It takes away, it bursts your bubble in a way. And you are faced when, the pieces shatter of what parts of yourself you gave away too freely, where you were too overgiving, where you were too forgiving, what you tolerated out of fear, and what you ignored to keep this illusion alive to yourself. Because often the biggest red flag is you. Because if you see a red flag in someone else and you don't choose to do anything about it, you ultimately are the one holding it and the one waving it. Hate to say it, but I've been there. I at that point, I was like running a circus. I was a showman, right? Like I was holding so many red flags of someone else that I was the walking red flag, and I was the one that looked like the idiot. I was the one that looked dumb for putting up with someone else's, and just to keep that illusion alive of what I thought love was, because someone told me they loved me. But ultimately, you have to zoom out in those moments and actually ask yourself, is that what love is? And the answer is no. And so in the quiet, after like someone leaves your life, or sometimes it's not quiet, sometimes it's really hard and really loud, or even after you choose to leave, if you do, make the choice or make that first step, you are in this space where you really now have to face yourself again, and you begin to start to ask yourself better questions. And these were sort of the questions that were coming up with my girlfriend, like, well, who am I without this relationship? And, being angry at yourself and asking yourself, like, why did I shrink myself to make this work? And a big thing that came up for one of my friends is all these patterns she realized of like chasing avoidant men. I've been one of them. I think most women have been one, if you're not an avoidant yourself. Like, what did I learn about my patterns and my needs and my boundaries, and where I didn't hold my boundaries to a standard, where I didn't put my needs first, and then the pattern that I unconsciously played out, or maybe even consciously in a way, like you could have been in it and known, oh, I'm anxious, I'm being so anxious, this person is avoidant and is triggering me. And if you are choosing to be in that dynamic and that dance, you are choosing this. So when you go through the breakup, or, maybe you're edging on a breakup, or, it's coming, you can ask yourself these deeper questions to kind of get to the root of, some deep answers and questions, which will help you understand yourself better, so that you then don't go into another relationship making the same mistakes or chasing the same kind of relationship pattern that clearly isn't working for you. And it's painful. We all know I've been disheveled, crying in my friend's bed for a week, not being able to eat, all of the things. But ultimately, pain does bring clarity, because I have no other choice but to look at it, and you do start asking yourself those questions about like why it didn't work and what you did wrong. And with another friend, we were having these conversations about how embarrassed we both were about how we once acted during a breakup. We acted crazy in terms of like a secure person would not do that. If you were in your rational mind and your empowered feminine self, you would not be begging a man for a phone call. You would not be begging a man just to have a conversation, just to try and make it work just one last time. That's disgusting. I'm like, of course you want to make it work, but it has to be mutual. And I do think the man has to be the one like putting himself forth to like want to make it work. It looks needy and desperate if a girl is crying on the phone, begging a guy just to give her some respect. And so when you can walk away from that, you begin to rebuild yourself, and in a way that you then transform. And you become more aligned to who it is you actually are. And I do believe sometimes we go through breakups and they can come out of the blue and you don't even know like how or why it happened. And I just believe that it's like life, God, universe, whatever it is you call it. I call it God. It's just like removing that person from your life because they are not for you. You are meant to be on a different path. They're holding you back. It's like diminishing you in a way that you don't realize, whatever it is. And then you can get clear and be like, I deserve better, or I deserve more. This isn't for me. And like I said to my girlfriend, I was like, you deserve so much more than what you're receiving. It's the cliche. Why are you accepting breadcrumbs when you deserve the whole bakery? I'm like, forget the bakery. I want to own all the franchises, you know, like really deserve like bigger and think bigger and want more for yourself. Because if you don't want more for yourself, there is not going to be a man that gives you that respect. A man isn't going to give you the world and, you know, respect you just like infinite amounts if you don't already hold yourself to that standard and hold yourself to that frequency. Like, why would a man want to give you the world when you wouldn't even want to give it to yourself, or even feel like you are worthy of the world? It's like, it just won't work because you won't be able to hold that. And a man will sense that. Why does she not want me to help her? Why does she not want me to look after her? Like, why is she pushing me away? Because ultimately a woman doesn't feel safe in herself to hold that or feel like worthy of it. And that's where that self-worth comes into. I talk about it in my masterclass, but your self-worth is at the root of all your relationships, and all your relationships will pretty much fail one way or another if you do not cultivate a sense of a sense of worthiness, where, you know, it's unshakable that you feel worthy of the love, you feel worthy of the life, and that unworthiness that you hold, you've worked through and transmuted to be the best version of yourself. So one of the most underrated gifts of this breakup is that space to get to know yourself more, and that space to reconnect with yourself and to breathe differently and do the things you love, and also to feel all the feelings without, you know, editing them for someone else's comfort. So, you know, how often have you bottled down your emotions because you didn't want to come across as too much, too emotional, too needy, all these labels that we've been told by men? And sometimes it's true. I do think we're over emotional in front of men. I do think there's a time and a place where we can be extra emotional. I don't think that time and place is in front of a man. They don't know how to deal with it, and they don't know what to do with you in that situation. And so when they're in those spaces and places, we want them to save us or change their mind or hold us. And what it's going to do is make them run away. And so, you know, I do think that when you're going through a breakup, that space allows you to process those emotions, or you have the space to spend time with your girlfriends where it's not necessarily processing those emotions alone. You can cry with your friends. You can be held in a way where you're not judged and really feel it all without having the reaction of someone else who's personally involved. So it is a beautiful thing. And often in relationships, we will be feeling something if we're unhappy, and we're not going to start to share about it with this person because we are wanting to keep the peace, or we don't want them to break up with us because we have an abandonment wound, and we want everything to be perfect, so we pretend we're okay when realistically we're not. And that is what I talk about, editing your feelings for someone else's comfort. It's really you doing yourself a disservice. And when you actually put yourself first and make the decision to walk away from something that's not for you, you can actually, you know, heal. You can heal, girl, because that is where the healing happens, in that space. And, you know, you start to do the things that you stopped doing, you know, maybe spending more time with your friends. Maybe it's like reading books or watching that TV show that you love, you know, laughing a little bit more freely, and just like feeling the lightness that you didn't feel when you were in a tense relationship or an anxious avoidant dynamic, or with someone who wasn't choosing you or giving you what you wanted. And that feeling of lightness is truly that energy returning to you, where you get your glow back. And you have the glow up. That post-breakup glow up is a thing, because you are recalling and reclaiming all the parts of yourself that you lost or forgot about. Yeah. And you have to find them again and reconnect with them. And it's hard. The nights are always hard when you're going through a breakup, because the bed was once with that person where you're intimate and you're cuddling and you reminisce on memories, and that hurts so bad. But underneath all that, there's this becoming that's happening through it, right? And a breakup will show you in a very, very clear way, actually, if you remove the memories and the feelings and the emotion of what's not meant to stay. So what's meant to stay actually has the room to finally arrive. But if you don't create that space where you're not happy, or something's, eating at you, or, bothering you, or just making you not the best version of yourself, you need that space so that space can be filled with the right things. And maybe it's not a man straight away, but it needs to be filled with the things that light you up and lift you up as well. And I've looked back on breakups that truly disheveled me, wrecked me, and ruined me. And I thought, thank God. I've said this, I prayed to God. I prayed in my bed, wailing to God just to take the pain of a person away, this physical heartbreak that I was experiencing, like severe chest pains, and just like I was heaving at the genuine trauma I was enduring through something. And I prayed to God to take him away. I was like, I can't handle this anymore. And after, it was like, thank God I'm out of that. Thank God I can see clearly, and that it's no longer hurting me every day. And it's not a bitterness. It's not out of bitterness saying thank God, or whatever it is you say. It's really out of deep gratitude that you were rerooted in life and in a way safe, or you put yourself first. And it's being in just, thank you so much for everything this person taught me and gave me and showed me, and the memories spent together. But thank you that I get to move on. And that is really, really powerful when you can get to that place and be in that space of forgiveness and also gratitude, because gratitude is such a powerful frequency to hold and be in. The love that you are chasing needs to be rooted in safety. And, not chasing. I don't think you need to chase. Let me reword that. Like the love that you're seeking, that you're longing for, that you desire, needs to be rooted in safety. And that you were probably chasing something that wasn't safe. And you need to get back down to your, very core values, such as honesty or growth. And then ask yourself, is what I was in aligned? Was it those things? Did we have the same vision for our life? Did we, communicate in a healthy way? All of these things. And when you look at it and really can analyze it and see, you start to realize that it wasn't potentially the right thing for you. And if it is meant to be for you, it will come back and it will be more aligned, and you'll be able to work on things together from a clear perspective where you've both grown individually and come back. And if you're just rushing back into something in the same toxic cycle, that's a choice of yours that you need to reevaluate and ask yourself, why are you going back to toxic situationships that aren't working? Usually it's rooted from a place of like actually not knowing your worth, or feeling like you don't want to be abandoned. I say this because it was me. It was I did those things. So I did it. I've gone through it. I grieved it and I grew from it. And what can follow after the grief is so much more powerful, because it's renewal and it's realignment, and it's a much deeper relationship with yourself. I have never been so connected to myself and never known myself more true than I do know now. And I also know that everything that comes into my life is either a test or a teacher, or it's there to be an ally. And I really can see and discern what those things are pretty fast. Sometimes, you have to go on a few dates to find out, or, go through a few challenges or tests and be like, nah, this isn't for me. I deserve better. And let me be your reminder that if you are in it, you didn't lose everything when the relationship ended. You actually found yourself again. And that's a beautiful thing. And it might not be right away. And it's probably not going to be without tears, as my poor girlfriend was crying today. But the more you lean into the truth of the truth, the more you're going to realize that you actually, the brokenness, you weren't broken, and, parts of you were just buried. And I feel like we bury parts of ourselves. It's either our emotions or our feelings or our desires, like I said, under compromise for, tolerating another person or just accepting their needs over your own. And relationships are mutual, and I do believe there is going to be sacrifice on both parts, but it can't just be you. And this is where the fear comes in, that you're not going to find someone else, or that this is the best that you've ever had. Let me tell you, this is not the best you've ever had. Everyone just keeps on getting better for me. I don't know how it happens, but I do believe that, if you have that belief, not this, better, it will be that. And I do feel like it gets to a point you can't just chase better. I'm not saying that's it. Like, if you're in a really healthy relationship, you can't be like, better. Like, I'm talking about if you're not in a good relationship and you want to come out and you're like, no, I deserve better than that. And you know that better is out there for you. You deserve to be treated better. You deserve to be treated with respect, or be told I love you, or be told you're beautiful, or be taken out on dates. Like, all of those things, like, you do deserve those. And, when you let go of that fear, under all of those things is the version of you who didn't actually choose herself yet. And just when you know that, and then you choose yourself, that's when you're going to be able to call in something so much, more amazing than you could have ever even known to be true. But you also have to do the work to know that you do deserve it, and get a clear idea of what that actually looks like for you. Because my dream relationship isn't your dream relationship, and we all have different versions of what we want from life and different visions for our life. So finding a person that aligns with that vision, or who can give you that dream life that you want, is really important, right? So I know that this breakup, if you are going through one or have gone through one recently or thinking about it, will be the thing that helps you figure out who you are even more. Breakups have been my best teacher, my biggest teacher in life. The things I'm most grateful for also have been the hardest things that I've gone through in life. And I know that through the breakups is where I've discovered my power and trusted my intuition more, because of the maybe shady behavior of someone else. And whatever it is, it refined my skills as a woman, and that is a beginning worth celebrating. And so celebrate this new chapter of your life. Give it a name. What are you calling it? What's this chapter called? Think of it as a new start, not, oh my God, I'm this age and I'm single and I have to start again and the dating apps suck, which they do. But anyways, we have hope. We have hope. You got to believe in it. There are good guys out there. There are amazing men. And sometimes my grandma told me you have to kiss a few frogs to find your prince. And that is so true. And you do have to go through some heartbreaks and life lessons to make you into a better woman. I just feel like they're just the game. It's the game of life. They're just tests. They're just here to make me a better person. When I go through something so hard, I'm like, ooh, this is the fire. This is the furnace. This is where I'm going to burn, and I'm going to become something even better. It is refinement. It's turning you into gold, baby. And I mean that. So thank you so much for listening to Strip to the Soul. If this episode has helped shift your perspective or softened your heart, I'm just giving your heart a hug if you're going through it. I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need that same reminder. Want to send so much love to my girlfriend who's going through it, and I'm holding her heart as well, and just saying thank you for her inspiring this episode, and for all the times my friends have been there and helped me through the hardest times of my life. Just know that I'm sending you love, and if your friends are going through it, maybe this will help them. And it's just that sisterhood. It's so magical, it's so amazing. And just remember, you're not starting over in a negative sense. It's like a fresh, starting truer. I like that energy. So yes, please subscribe if you haven't already on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We're growing and I really appreciate it. If you can even leave a review, that little 5-star. Ooh, it makes me so happy, puts a smile on my face. And please come back in next week's episode as we continue to strip down what it really means to live this life, what really matters, which is your healing, your voice, and what's true in your soul. So love you so much and have an amazing rest of your day. Mwah!